Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. This is Dr. Shivakumar, working as a assistant professor in Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice, Manonamaniyam Sundarnar University, Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu. I am going to discuss about restorative justice. What is restorative justice? Restorative justice is a new movement in the field of victimology and criminology. Acknowledging that crime causes injury to people and communities, it insists that justice repair those injuries and that the parties be permitted to participate in the processes. Restorative justice programs therefore enable the victim, the offender and affected members of the community to be directly involved in responding to the crime. They become central to criminal justice processes, with governmental and legal professionals serving as facilitators of a system that aims at offender accountability, reparation to the victim and full participation by the victim, offenders and community. The restorative process of involving all parties, often in face-to-face meetings, is a powerful way of addressing not only the materials and physical injuries caused by crime, but the social, psychological and relational injuries as well. When a party is not able to or does not want to participate in such a meeting, other approaches can be taken to achieve the restorative outcome of repairing the harm. In addressing offender accountability, these approaches can include restitution, community service and other reparative sentences. In addressing victim and offender reintegration, they can include material, emotional and spiritual support and assistance. Definition of restorative justice that emphasizes the importance of both restorative processes and outcomes is the following. Restorative justice is a theory of justice that emphasizes repairing the harm caused or revealed by criminal behavior. It is best accomplished through cooperative processes that include all stakeholders. Restorative justice is a different from contemporary criminal justice in several ways. First, it views criminal acts more comprehensively rather than defining crime as simply law breaking. It recognizes that offenders harm victims, communities and even themselves. Secondly, it involves more parties in responding to crime rather than giving key roles only to government and the offender. It includes victims and communities as well. Finally, it measures success differently rather than measuring how much punishment is inflicted. It measures how much harm is repaired or prevented. Victim, offender and community meetings. Meetings between victims, their offenders and members of the affected community are important way to address the relational dimensions of crime and justice. It is accepted that the following three methods are hallmarks of restorative justice. Each requires that the offenders admit responsibility for the offence. Each is limited to parties who voluntarily to participate. Victim offender mediation. This is a process that provides an interested victim the opportunity to meet his offender in a safe and structured setting, engaging in a discussion of the crime with the assistance of a trained mediator. The goals of victim offender mediation include permitting victims to meet their offenders on a voluntary basis, encouraging the offender to learn about the crime's impact and to take responsibility for the resulting harm, and providing victim and offender the opportunity to develop a plan that addresses the harm. Family or community group conferencing. This is process brings together the victim, offender and family, friends and key supporters of both in deciding how to address the aftermath of the crime. The goals of conferencing include giving the victim an opportunity to be directly involved in responding to the crime, increasing the offender's awareness of the impact of his or her behavior and providing an opportunity to take responsibility for it, engaging the offender's support system for making amends and shaping the offender's future behavior, and allowing the offender and the victim to connect to key community support. Peacemaking or sentencing circles. This is a process designed to develop consensus among community members, victims, victim supporters, offenders, offender supporters, judges, prosecutors, defense counsel, police and court workers on an appropriate sentencing plan that addresses the concern of all interested parties. The goals of circles include promoting healing of the affected parties, giving the offender the opportunity to make amend, giving victims, offenders, family members and communities a voice and shared responsibility in finding constructive resolutions, addressing underlying causes of criminal behavior and building a sense of community around shared community values, repairing the harm caused by crime. Each of the hallmark restorative justice processes, victim offender mediation, community or family group conferencing and peacemaking or sentencing circles ends with an agreement on how the offender will make amends for the harm caused by the crime. Two traditional criminal justice sanctions are used in restorative responses to crime: restitution and community service. Restitution is the payment by an offender of a sum of money to compensate the victim for the financial losses caused by the crime. It is justified in a restorative perspective as a method of holding offenders accountable for their wrongdoing and as a method of repairing the victim's injury. Restitution can be determined in the course of mediation, conferencing or circles. It can also be ordered by a judge. In other words, it is a potentially restorative outcome that may result from either a restorative justice or a conventional process. Studies have shown that restitution increases victim satisfaction with the justice process. Some studies have shown that the use of restitution was associated with reductions in recidivism. Other studies have shown that when restitution is determined during the mediation, it is more likely to actually be paid than when it results from court or order alone. Community service is work performed by an offender for the benefit for the community. It is justified in a restorative representative perspective as a method of addressing the harm experienced by communities when a crime occurs. However, it can be used instead for retributive reasons or as a means of rehabilitating the offender. What distinguishes its uses as a restorative response is to attention given to identifying the particular harm suffered by the community as a result of offenders the crime, and the effort to ensure that offenders community services repairs that particular harm. So, for example, offenders who put gratify on belonging in a neighborhood can be given the community services of removing graffiti from buildings in that neighborhood. Restorative justice around the world. Although restorative justice is less than 20 years old, its influences has spread around the world at a remarkable speed. We can track international development in two basic categories: innovation by countries in their use of restorative justice and integration by countries of restorative ideas into their justice systems. Following are examples of innovative restorative practices. Indigenous or customary practices are being adopted for use in the criminal justice system. Examples of this include conferencing and circles. Victim offender encounters or talking place inside prisons in the Europe and North America. In some instances, this involves victim meetings with their offenders in a kind of post-sentencing mediation. It is even used in this way on death row in Texas. In other instances, the meeting involved group of unrelated victims and offenders. These surrogate encounters may be used because the actual victim or offenders is unknown or unavailable, or as a preparatory step towards a meeting of the person with the actual victim or offender. Circles of support in Canada work with serious sexual offenders, like often guilty of pedophilia, released into fearful communities at the conclusion of their sentences. The program increases safety of the public by establishing a reintegration plan with the offender, by regularly monitoring the behavior of the offender, and but ensuring that community resources needed by the offender are made available. It ensures the safety and offender by offering a forum for community members to voice their concerns, by intervening with community members when necessary, and by working with the police and other authorities to provide protection and services as needed. Unique prison regimes have developed in Latin America and elsewhere, in which prisoners volunteer to stay at facilities run largely by volunteers and the prisoners. The regimes establish a particular spiritual or cultural ethos that involves learning through example and apprenticeship. Victim offender community meetings are being done at many phases of the justice processes. They are run by police prior to a charge, by probation officers, and on occasion by parole officers in Canada. This is in addition to the rich tradition of NGO provisions of community-based victim offender community meetings. Restorative process are being used to address conflict between citizens and the government. Examples include the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa and the Treaty of Waitangi Commission in New Zealand. Legislative action has reduced legal or systematic barriers to the use of restorative programs, created legal inducement for using restorative programs, guided and structured restorative programs, and protected the rights of offenders and victims. Funding and staff for programs is expanding. Belgium, for example, has adopted a global plan to fight unemployment and to change certain aspects of criminal justice. Municipalities receive funding for program staff if they agree to help carry out certain penal sanctions and measures such as police-based mediation. Jurisdiction-wide planning is incorporating restorative principles in a systematic framework. This has been done at the state and provincial level and on a national level in some countries. The purpose of the exercise is to involve criminal justice professionals and members of the community in a process that leads to a plan for implementation and expansion of restorative approaches. The number of restorative programs is growing. There are more than 500 mediation programs and projects in Europe and over 300 in the US. A Canadian survey of restorative justice programs and projects in that country resulted in over 100 listings. In intergovernmental bodies are taking notes of restorative justice. In 1999, the Committee of Ministry of Council of Europe adopted a recommendation on the use of mediation in penal matters. The UN's International Handbook on Justice for Victims notes that the framework for restorative justice involves the offender, the victim, and the entire community in efforts to create a balanced approaches that is offender directed and at the same time victim centered. Victim compensation has become a key feature of restorative justice in many developed countries. According to John Braithwaite, restorative justice is a process where all stakeholders affected by an injustice have an opportunity to discuss how they have been affected by the injustice and to decide what should be done to repair the harm. With crime, restorative justice is about the idea that because crime hurts, justice should heal. It follows that conservations with those who have been hurt and with those who have inflicted the harm must be central to the processes. In a restorative justice processes, the citizens who have been affected by a crime must take an active role in addressing that crime. Although law professionals may have secondary roles in facilitating the restorative justice processes, it is the citizens who must take up the majority of the responsibility in healing the pains caused by crime. The process of restorative justice thus shifts the responsibility for addressing crime. Restorative justice is an approach to problem solving that is based around three basic concepts. That is, when crime or wrongdoing occurs, the focus is on the harm has been done to people and relationship when harm has been done. It creates obligations and liabilities. The way forward involves wrongdoers, victims, and the community in effort to heal the harm and put things right. There is a range of restorative justice programs across fields as diverse as justice, policing, corrections, juvenile justice, schools, workplaces, organizations, faith groups, family, and community. Restorative justice programs are characterized by four key values. One is encounter, creating opportunity for victim offenders, that is wrongdoers, their families and community members who want to do so to meet to discuss the crime incident and its impact on them, accept and them amends. Expecting wrongdoers to take steps to repair the harm they have caused, reintegration, seeking to restore victim and offender to wholeness, to become contributing members of society, inclusion, providing opportunities for parties with a stake in a specific crime or incident to participate in its resolution, adopting from the restorative justice. There are several models of restorative justice that are practices across the range of programs. The following list is by no means complete. Victim offender mediation conferencing, pre and post sentencing pre-release, family group conferencing, family group decision making, circles, restorative cautioning, that is police, restorative dialogue, classroom, conferencing, formal conferences in schools. We urge newcomers to these concepts to explore the wide range of models and practice. We believe strongly that each model has value and can contribute to our knowledge and best practice in whichever field we work. What does the term restorative practice mean? As the restorative justice movement is making inroads into a range of fields outside our criminal justice system. New terms have been developed to reflect these innovations. Restorative practice is what practitioners do when they use the principles, values and practices of the philosophy of restorative justice. Schools in the southern hemisphere, for example, tend to prefer the world practice in the educational settings to the distinguish it from criminal justice. In some places, the term restorative approaches is preferred and therefore are others. For the purpose of RPI, we uses the term practice as a collective to encompasses all fields where these notions of justice are practiced: policing, corrections, courts, juvenile justice, schools, families, organizations and workplaces. And RPI continues to believe that we have an enormous amount to learn from each other as we practice in these varying fields, and as we hope that practice to be the best it can be. History of the term of restorative justice. The term restorative justice has appeared in written sources since the first half of the 19th century. The term restorative justice was likely coined by Albert Eglash in 1977. Eglash distinguished between three approaches to justice. One is retributive justice based on punishment, distributive justice involving therapeutic treatment of offenders, restorative justice based on restitution with input from victims and offenders. Victim offenders mediation, also called victim offenders dialogue with offender conferencing, victim offender reconciliation or restorative justice dialogue, is usually a meeting in the presence of a trained mediator between victim and offender. The system generally involves few participants and often is the only option available to incarcerate offenders. Victim offender mediation originated in Canada as part of an alternative court sanction in a 1974 Kitchener, also involving two accused vandals who met face to face with their many victims. Mediation and criminal justice, victims, offenders and community in London. Then family group conferencing has a wider circle of participants than victim offender mediation, adding people connected to the primary parties such as family, friends and professionals. Family group conferencing is often the most appropriate system for juvenile cases due to the important role of the family in juvenile offenders' life. Example can be found in New South Wales in Australia under the 1997 Young Offenders Act and in New Zealand under the 1989 Children, Young Persons and Their Families Act. The New South Wales scheme has been favorably evaluated by the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research. Fiji utilizes this form of mediation when dealing with cases of child sexual assault. While it may be seen as beneficial to involve the victim's family in the process, there are multiple issues stemming from this. For example, the vast majority of offenders are knowing to the victims in these cases. In a Fijian context, the notion of family extends wider than that of the normative Western ideas. Therefore, involving the families in these cases may become complicated, for the family may not necessarily side with the victim or the possessors. Itself could cause rifts within the clan. Furthermore, the process as a whole places much emphasis on the victim forgiving the offender as opposed to the offender making amends with the victim. This is because Fijian culture greatly values community harmony. Overall, the currently process has the potential to cause great trauma and re-victimize the victim. Restorative conferencing also involves a wider circle of participants than victim offender mediation. Restorative conferences, which have also been called restorative justice conferences, family group conferences and community accountability conferences, originated as a response to juvenile crime. Restorative conference is a voluntarily structured meeting between offenders, victims, representatives from the community and both parties, family and friends, in which they address consequences and restitution. Restorative conferences is explicitly victim sensitive. The conference facilitator arranges the meetings. In some cases, a written statement or a surrogate replaces an unwilling victim. The conference's facilitator sticks to a simple script and keep the conference focused, but intentionally does not actively participate in structuring the outcome of the conference. The goal of the conferences is for the participants to produce a mutually acceptable agreement that addresses the harm caused by the offender. The intent is to allow subsequent conferences to succeed without a facilitator. Restorative conferences was successfully introduced in several schools in England, including St. Augustine of Canterbury in 2002 for 2008. Positive results led officials to offer training to all Sommerest secondary schools. Community restorative boards. A community restorative boards also referred to as community justice committees in Canada and referral order panel in England. It is typically composed of a small group prepared by intensive training who conduct public face-to-face meetings. Judges may be sentenced offenders to participate. Police may refer them before charging them, or they may engage outside the legal system. Victims meet with the board and offenders or submit a written statement which is shared with the offender and the board. Board members discuss the nature and impact of the offence with the offender. The discussion continues until they agree on the deadline and specific actions for the offenders to take. Subsequently, the offenders documents progress in fulfilling the agreement. After the deadline passes, the board submits a complaints report to the court or police, ending the board's involvement. Conclusion. Additionally, some critics like Gregory Shank and Paul Taggi see restorative justice as an incomplete model in that it fails to fix the fundamental structural inequalities that make certain people more likely to be offenders than others. They and others question the structure of society and the fairness of institutional systems at their worst core, pushing for addressing the root causes of many one-on-one offences as well as for creating a socio-economic system that will be more conducive to harmless or healthy living in general. Finally, some researchers agree that more research must be conducted to support the validity of restorative justice in schools, specifically in how it is implemented. More exactly, restorative justice practices that are inconsistent, insufficient or run out of in funding tend to have the worst reputations for success. While many research studies support positive findings in restorative justice, continuing studies are still needed. Thank you.